Lockout Tagout procedures, often abbreviated as LOTO, are designed to protect employees from the unexpected energization or startup of machinery and equipment during service or maintenance. While the core principles of LOTO are generally well defined, situations arise where the application isn't straightforward. These so-called gray areas can create confusion and potentially compromise safety. One common source of gray areas is unique equipment. Equipment with non-standard designs or configurations can present challenges for determining the proper lockout points and procedures. For example, a custom-built machine might not have readily accessible disconnects, or the location of energy-isolating devices might not be immediately obvious. Multiple energy sources also contribute to gray areas. Complex systems may have multiple electrical, mechanical, hydraulic, or pneumatic energy sources. Identifying and isolating all of these sources can be challenging, especially when dealing with older or poorly documented equipment. The scope of maintenance activities can also introduce ambiguity. It may not always be clear whether a particular task requires full LOTO or whether a less stringent form of energy control is sufficient. For instance, a minor adjustment to a machine guard might not seem to warrant a complete shutdown, but a more thorough inspection could reveal hidden hazards that necessitate LOTO. Emergency situations present a different type of challenge. In an emergency, such as a power outage or equipment malfunction, there can be pressure to restore power quickly. Balancing the need for speed with the requirements of LOTO can create uncertainty and lead to shortcuts. It is crucial to remember that safety should always be the top priority, even in emergencies. Inadequate employee training is another major factor contributing to gray areas. If employees are not thoroughly trained on LOTO procedures, they may not understand the importance of isolating energy sources or may not know how to properly apply lockout devices. This lack of knowledge can lead to errors and potentially dangerous situations. Here are some specific examples of gray areas that commonly arise. Lockable ball valves present a dilemma. Determining whether a ball valve that cannot be locked is considered an energy-isolating device requires careful consideration. If the valve is used to control a hazardous substance, such as compressed air or steam, it should generally be treated as an energy-isolating device and locked out. Electrical circuits with redundant power supplies can also create confusion. Shutting down one power supply but leaving others energized does not provide adequate protection. All potential energy sources must be isolated and locked out. Rotating equipment poses another challenge. Isolating a rotating shaft that is connected to multiple energy sources requires careful planning and execution. The shaft must be mechanically blocked or restrained to prevent unexpected movement. Portable equipment raises questions. Whether LOTO is required for portable equipment that is frequently moved depends on the specific circumstances. If the equipment is plugged into a standard electrical outlet and is not used in a hazardous location, LOTO may not be necessary. However, if the equipment is used in a wet or dusty environment or is connected to a high-voltage power source, LOTO is essential. Emergency power systems also warrant special consideration. Determining the appropriate LOTO procedures for systems that provide backup power requires a thorough understanding of the system's design and operation. It is important to ensure that the backup power system cannot be accidentally activated during maintenance. Addressing gray areas in LOTO requires a proactive and systematic approach. Firstly, seek guidance. Consult with an electrical safety specialist or OSHA inspector for advice. These experts can provide valuable insights and help you determine the most appropriate course of action. Secondly, review best practices. Refer to industry standards and best practices to determine the most appropriate approach. Organizations like the National Fire Protection Association, abbreviated as NFPA, and the American National Standards Institute, abbreviated as ANSI, publish standards that provide detailed guidance on LOTO procedures. Thirdly, conduct risk assessments. Evaluate the specific risks associated with the task and determine the necessary LOTO measures. A thorough risk assessment can help you identify potential hazards and develop appropriate control measures. Fourthly, document procedures. Create written procedures that clearly outline the LOTO steps for each gray area situation. These procedures should be specific to the equipment and tasks being performed. Finally, provide training. Ensure that employees are thoroughly trained on both the general LOTO procedures and any specific gray area protocols. Training should be hands-on and should include opportunities for employees to practice applying LOTO procedures. When developing LOTO procedures for gray areas, there are several key considerations to keep in mind. Consider the worst-case scenario. Always assume that the equipment could be energized or started up unexpectedly. Identify all potential energy sources. Make a comprehensive list of all electrical, mechanical, hydraulic, pneumatic, and other energy sources that could pose a hazard. Use appropriate lockout devices. Select lockout devices that are specifically designed for the energy isolating devices being used. For example, use valve lockout devices for valves and circuit breaker lockout devices for circuit breakers. Verify the lockout. Before starting work, verify that the equipment is energized and cannot be started up. This can be done by testing the equipment with a voltage tester or by attempting to start the equipment. Communicate effectively. Ensure that all employees involved in the task are aware of the LOTO procedures and their responsibilities. Effective communication is essential for preventing accidents. Regularly review and update LOTO procedures. LOTO procedures should be reviewed and updated at least annually or whenever there are changes to the equipment or processes. This will help ensure that the procedures remain effective and relevant. In addition to these general considerations, there are some specific steps you can take to address common gray areas. For lockable ball valves, if the valve cannot be locked, consider installing a lockable valve cover or using a chain and padlock to secure the valve in the closed position. For electrical circuits with redundant power supplies, ensure that all power supplies are de-energized and locked out. This may require disconnecting multiple circuit breakers or removing fuses. For rotating equipment, use mechanical blocks or restraints to prevent the shaft from rotating. These blocks or restraints should be strong enough to withstand the forces that could be generated by the equipment. For portable equipment, develop a checklist to help employees determine whether LOTO is required. The checklist should include questions about the equipment's power source, the environment in which it is being used, and the potential hazards associated with the task. For emergency power systems, work with a qualified electrician to develop LOTO procedures that are specific to the system. These procedures should address the unique challenges of isolating and energizing emergency power systems. One of the core requirements of any effective Lockout Tagout program is documented procedures. These documents are more than just guidelines, they are the roadmap to safety during maintenance and servicing. Each piece of equipment should have its own specific LOTO procedure, detailing the exact steps needed to de-energize and isolate it. This includes identifying all energy sources, the correct isolating devices, and the proper lockout points. The procedures should be readily accessible to all authorized employees and kept up to date with any changes to the equipment or process. Training is the cornerstone of a successful LOTO program. It's not enough to simply provide employees with written procedures. They need hands-on training to understand the importance of LOTO and how to properly execute the procedures. Training should cover the types of energy sources present in the workplace, the methods for isolating and controlling these energies, the purpose and function of lockout and tagout devices, and the company's specific LOTO procedures. Regular refresher training is also critical to reinforce the information and address any changes in equipment or procedures. One of the biggest challenges in LOTO is ensuring compliance. It's easy for complacency to set in, especially when performing routine tasks. To combat this, companies need to foster a culture of safety where LOTO is seen as a critical part of the job, not just a bureaucratic requirement. This can be achieved through ongoing training, regular audits of LOTO procedures, and positive reinforcement for employees who follow the rules. It's also important to have a system for addressing violations of LOTO procedures and holding employees accountable for their actions. Auditing the LOTO program regularly is essential to ensure that it's working as intended. Audits should include a review of the written procedures, observation of employees performing LOTO procedures, and inspection of lockout and tagout devices. The purpose of the audit is to identify any gaps or weaknesses in the program and to make recommendations for improvement. The audit should be conducted by a qualified person who is knowledgeable about LOTO procedures and the requirements of OSHA Standard 29, 1910.147. Investing in the right lockout and tagout devices is a key component of a successful LOTO program. These devices are not just simple padlocks and tags, they are specialized tools designed to securely isolate energy sources and prevent accidental energization. There are lockout devices for circuit breakers, valves, disconnect switches, and other types of energy isolating devices. It's important to choose devices that are durable, tamper-resistant, and appropriate for the specific application. Each device should be clearly labeled with a tag identifying the authorized employee who applied the lockout. Beyond the technical aspects of LOTO, the human factor plays a significant role in its effectiveness. Human error is a leading cause of accidents, so it's important to address the psychological and behavioral aspects of LOTO. This includes promoting a safety-conscious culture, providing clear and concise communication, and ensuring that employees are properly trained and motivated to follow LOTO procedures. It also means addressing issues such as fatigue, stress, and distractions that can impair judgment and lead to errors. Technology is playing an increasingly important role in LOTO. There are now electronic LOTO systems that use computerized procedures and electronic tagging to improve safety and efficiency. These systems can track the status of lockout devices, provide real-time alerts, and generate reports on LOTO compliance. While technology can enhance LOTO, it's important to remember that it's not a replacement for proper training and procedures. Any electronic LOTO system should be carefully evaluated to ensure that it meets the requirements of OSHA Standard 29, 1910.147 and is properly integrated into the company's overall safety program. The electrical environment itself poses unique challenges. Electrical hazards can be invisible and often strike without warning. Therefore, comprehensive electrical safety training is crucial. Workers need to understand arc flash hazards, shock risks, and how to properly use personal protective equipment, abbreviated PPE. A qualified electrical worker should be able to identify potential hazards, assess risks, and implement appropriate control measures. Training should also cover the proper use of testing equipment, such as voltage testers and multimeters, to verify that electrical circuits are energized before work begins. The type of electrical equipment and machinery encountered in the workplace can vary greatly, from simple power tools to complex industrial control systems. Each type of equipment presents its own unique hazards and requires specific LOTO procedures. For example, a large motor may require multiple lockout points, while a small power tool may only require unplugging it from the outlet. The LOTO procedures should be tailored to the specific equipment and should clearly identify all energy sources and isolating devices. In addition to electrical hazards, there may be other types of energy sources present in the workplace, such as mechanical, hydraulic, pneumatic, thermal, and chemical energy. LOTO procedures should address all of these energy sources and should ensure that they are properly isolated and controlled before work begins. For example, a hydraulic system may need to be depressurized and the pressure relief valve locked out, while a steam line may need to be isolated and the steam supply valve locked out. Coordination with other trades is also essential. In many cases, maintenance or repair work may involve multiple trades, such as electricians, mechanics, and pipe fitters. It's important to have a system for coordinating LOTO procedures between these trades to ensure that everyone is aware of the hazards and the steps being taken to control them. This may involve a joint LOTO procedure or system of communication to ensure that all energy sources are properly isolated and locked out before work begins. The specific industry or type of work being performed can also have an impact on LOTO procedures. For example, the LOTO procedures for a construction site may be different from those for a manufacturing plant. This is because the hazards and the types of equipment encountered on a construction site are often different from those in a manufacturing plant. The LOTO procedures should be tailored to the specific industry and should address the unique hazards and equipment found in that industry. One common misconception is that LOTO is only required for major repairs or overhauls. In reality, LOTO is required for any activity that involves placing any part of an employee's body into a zone of danger near energized equipment. This includes activities such as clearing jams, making adjustments, or performing routine maintenance. The key is to assess the risks and to implement LOTO procedures whenever there is a potential for injury from unexpected energization or startup of equipment. Another common challenge is dealing with contractors. Contractors are often unfamiliar with the company's LOTO procedures and may not have the same level of training as employees. It's important to ensure that contractors are properly trained on the company's LOTO procedures and that they follow these procedures whenever they are working on the company's equipment. This may involve providing contractors with a copy of the LOTO procedures, conducting a pre-job briefing, and monitoring their work to ensure compliance. One often overlooked aspect of LOTO is the removal of lockout and tagout devices. It's important to have a clear procedure for removing these devices to ensure that equipment is not accidentally energized while employees are still working on it. The procedure should require that the authorized employee who applied the lockout device is the one who removes it. If the authorized employee is not available, a supervisor may remove the device after verifying that all employees are clear of the equipment and that it is safe to energize it. The removal procedure should also include a step to notify all affected employees that the equipment is being energized. Finally, documentation is a critical component of any LOTO program. Detailed records should be kept of all LOTO procedures, training, audits, and incidents. These records can be used to track the effectiveness of the LOTO program, to identify areas for improvement, and to demonstrate compliance with OSHA regulations. The records should be kept for a minimum of 5 years and should be readily accessible to employees and OSHA inspectors. The ultimate goal of LOTO is to prevent accidents and to protect workers from harm. By addressing grey areas, providing clear guidance, and fostering a culture of safety, you can enhance electrical safety and minimize the risk of injury. Remember, LOTO is not just a set of rules, it's a way of life. It's a commitment to safety that should be shared by everyone in the workplace. It's a continuous process of assessment, planning, and execution that requires constant vigilance and attention to detail. By embracing this approach, you can create a safer and more productive work environment for all.